Stream is live. We are live on YouTube, and we are going to be live on Amazon here briefly as well. I stream to two places, and one day we'll stream to more, but I can only handle so much distraction. All right, so today I just got this in, and we're going to be playing around with this. I got a call in about an hour, so I've got to be done with this by 3 p.m. Eastern. So we're gonna kind of go quickly here. So we're gonna have a full review of this soon on the channel. So if you don't want to sit through an hour or so of me futzing around with it, there you go. And what this is a dock for your Thunderbolt or USB-C equipped PC. And what it will let you do is attach multiple things to your computer with one cable, and it is, you know, a dock like we've looked at many times in the past. However, what is interesting about this one is that the power supply is integrated, so there's no power brick. So I thought we would unbox it here and take a look at it. And I've got some friends joining us, so let me get my chat room thing going here. And we'll say hello to some friends as we take this thing out of the box. So there's nothing in this piece of cardboard here. And we saw this at CES this year. Robert Branch is here, hello. We saw this at CES this year, and this is something that I thought you all would be interested in. It's pretty heavy because the power supply is integrated. So there's a lot of weight on this side of the unit. And I don't see a cooling fan, so I'm assuming it's going to run quiet, but we'll find out when we plug it in. Of note is that it does have 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, so we'll test that out in a little bit too. So we're going to test the Ethernet, we'll test the card reader. I've got my MacBook Pro on my desk over there, so we'll plug it in and see if we can get two displays going in addition to all the other stuff. So yeah, there you go. And Shane is here, reminding me that today is Pi Day. I forgot about that. It is Pi Day, 3.14. CM is here, hello. And C. Strev is joining us from the great state of Maine, a fellow New Englander. All right, so here's the dock. This is it. Power is integrated, so no power brick. And usually the power bricks for these docks are as big as the docks themselves, but not this one. So there you go. Now, in the front, let's look at the ports. So in the front, we've got an SD card reader, and the card reader is a UHS-2 reader. And if I put it down, where did I put it? Here it is. And I have my fastest card in my repertoire here, the Sony Tough card, which is a UHS-2 card. And you can tell it's UHS-2 because it has 2 rows of pins on it. And that's what makes this UHS-2, which is faster than UHS-1. Hey, another Mainer is here, Christoph Howard. All right. You know how they say Maine, lobster in Maine? They call it lobster, right? Is that right? And Zam is here for the Pi. And it will not do dual monitors, just one on the MacBook Air. And that's an Apple limitation. So Apple has limited the MacBook Airs, that's the M2 and the M1, to one display output only. The Pro, which I have on my desk over there, does do 2, but the Air's only 1. So, and that includes the M2 Air, by the way. All right, so that's the unit. Oh, I didn't go through the rest of the ports. So we've got UHS-2 reader, audio in and out. The audio DACs on these, excuse me, the audio DACs on these typically are not as good as what's built into your laptop. So I would still recommend using that over this. But it's there if you need it. USB 2, not 3, but 2 here. So this is what I would plug a mouse or a keyboard into. Here you've got a 3.2 10 gigabit per second port. This is data only. And you can see there's a little hole above it because they do make cables that you can screw in so they don't pop out if that's important to you. And the same is true of the Thunderbolt cables on the back. Now, you have 2 pass-throughs here because the computer connection is here on the side. And this is going to output 90 watts out. And then you've got your Kensington lock here. So you plug it into the computer here, and then you have these two pass-throughs, an HDMI output. And what I'm going to try in my desk scenario is plugging in, I have a cable that goes from USB-C to DisplayPort. So I'm going to plug that in here, an HDMI cable in here to see if we can get dual 4K 60 out of it. And we've got Mr. Carl Augustad on Amazon watching from Alaska. And AAUG, the Alaskan Apple User Group. You know, what's funny about Apple User Groups, I used to have one here in Connecticut. I had a bulletin board system, and I was active on the Apple II FidoNet Echo thing. So this is on bulletin board systems. So I registered as a user group, which I attached to the Echo. So we had a user group registered. Apple used to send all sorts of cool stuff every month to the user group. So what I'm going to do is have one display go out of here, another one go out of the HDMI, and then I'm going to plug my 10 gig Ethernet into here. That's how it's going to work. So it looks like I got the pronunciation of lobster right. And Shane says they've got small lobsters down there in Louisiana called crayfish. And Harry, I would refresh your browser. Sometimes they have some issues with YouTube. And there is a lot of controversy over that, right? Over quotas or something. I think I was reading something about that. And Can Tech Bryce is here from Canada. Hello there. So this is 2.5 gig Ethernet, which is fine for most folks, but I've got super fast connections here. So I have a 10 gig Thunderbolt Ethernet. So right now I have a dock that has 3 Thunderbolts, but 2 of them I'm using for display. So we're going to have one go out for display here, Thunderbolt gigabit 10 gig Ethernet into here, and then the HDMI will go out to the display. 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. We'll test this to make sure it can hit that speed. And you've got 2 USB 3 ports here that they rate for 10 gigabits per second. One thing that I found with these docks is that all of the USB ports share the same bus. So you're not going to see, you know, each port delivering the full amount. They share the bandwidth because they're on a common hub. And then your power supply is integrated. So this is it. So port selection is okay. Not a lot of ports. But I guess you could, you know, attach another USB hub or something. And they're kind of marketing this as being portable, which it is, because there's no power brick. So this would take up less space than a larger dock would, but it's still pretty big. Hey, Give This a Try is from Connecticut. Hi there. Do you live next door? I got some coffee if you want to stop over. And yeah, I think sometimes YouTube's distribution is a little flaky. All right, so not a lot of plastic, by the way, in this, which is good. So it's all cardboard, which is recyclable. We have our power cable, again, integrated power supply. It's not a grounded power supply, but usually these docks, I don't think, are grounded. And then we have our USB Type-C cable, or I'm sorry, our Thunderbolt 4 cable. And you can see how long it is. It's not very long. By the way, if you have a Thunderbolt cable that has the 3 or the 4 on it, these cables are compatible with everything that USB-C can do. So if you want to make sure that you can get the maximum support for power and bandwidth and everything, Thunderbolt cables are always going to get you there. Yes, so this will work. They say it's actually compatible not only with Thunderbolt devices, but USB-C devices that don't support Thunderbolt. So it will work with all of them. However, the support will vary on display output depending on what you got. And they have a chart on the Amazon product page, if you click on it, that'll show you what you can expect out of it. Because every computer is going to function a little bit differently with this. So even on the Mac side, the MacBook Air, only does 1 display output. But the M2 can do 2. So it's a varied mix. So I would check out the product page because they've got all the specifics on there. All right, so why don't we hook this thing up because my time is short today. And I'll give the camera a little more, get my light pointed at it. I mean, that's why it's not showing up very well. But I'll add a little more exposure to the camera here. There we go. And we'll plug it in and get her going. And I'm going to plug this into my MacBook Air M2. And I've got a 4K display here, so we'll see if we can get 4K 60 out of this. So we'll plug this in. Zzz. All right, step one. Step two, we need an HDMI cable. Let me go get that real quick. I forgot to do that. And we're going to hook up the display with an HDMI cable. The cables I've been using of late, I've always actually had good luck with the Amazon Basics cables, which is what I typically use. And the crazy thing is that I buy them and they keep disappearing. I don't know what happens to them because I don't go through them. They just tend to like get assigned somewhere and I don't have them anymore. So I don't know what happens there. But we're going to take this one. This is a cable that is rated for 8K, so it should be more than enough for 4K 60. And I'm going to plug in the cable to the back of my monitor here, and I'm going to plug the other end into this port. And then I need to plug my monitor in. So let me find a cable that can accommodate that. All right. Okay, so now let's zoom out here a little bit. And what we'll do is get the Mac attached up here to the dock so we can see if it's going to work. And this one plugs in on the side. So what I'm going to do here, and actually let me get the Ethernet going too, because I have a cable that's got a direct line out to my 2.5 gig switch. Got a nice long cable here. So this cable, there it is. So we're going to run this cable into the dock. And I got docking stations all over the place in this mess of an office. All right, so we're good there. Now that should negotiate at 10 gigabits, or sorry, 2.5 gigabits. And then this cable plugs into the side. And then we plug the other end into our Mac here. And that's the only issue that I see with this, is that I've got to get the Mac positioned in the right spot. So we're going to have to move the Mac over here. And I'll show you a little trick when you have this thing plugged in a second. And actually, you know what else I'm going to do? Is I'm going to grab, this is going to be kind of sacrilegious, but it will work. I have this great ThinkPad keyboard here. And what I'm going to do with this is we're going to plug, let me make sure I didn't miss any comments here. Hey, we got Ronald Matthews here, and Flood of Sins is joining us. I'm going to plug in this USB dongle for this ThinkPad keyboard, and I'm going to plug it into the USB 2 slot here. And then I'm going to connect this cable up to get it all hooked up. Now, what's great about how docking stations work is that they provide power through the cable. So everything that you get here comes in and out of this. So we're going to plug this in. And it will, modern Macs will ask for so Jesse, like, you have a one-track mind, my friend. I am never changing this. I am never changing this. I know you come by and ask this every time, but I'm not doing it. I got nothing else to put back there. Okay, so now we are connected. And I do need to turn the monitor on and select the right source here. So let's go up and do that. Now what's happened is the Mac is getting power from the dock. And as you can see here, we have a successful connection here. And yeah, so there's no getting around the laws of physics. So the dock is a bit longer than some of the other ones that we look at. So, and that accommodates the power supply, which is right here. So yeah, it's, there's no escaping that. Now I've got my keyboard attached here. Let me switch this on. And so now you can see I've got my mouse and keyboard working. So what I can do on the Mac, and I'm sure Windows works the same way, I can close the lid, and now I've got it going here. So now I can use this like a desktop. Now on the MacBook Air, you can't, the MacBook Air, you cannot hook up two displays. So this is the Max. But let's verify that we are getting what we expect out of this. Now, of course, not having the Mac trackpad makes this difficult. So let's go back here. Oh, I'm sorry, Mac K. So modern Macs, the most recent version of OS X, when you connect up a Thunderbolt device, and I think this is part of the spec, or maybe the USB 4 spec, it's going to ask you if you want to connect the dock up to it. So you will see a security warning that you didn't see before. And that's something that Windows has done for a while now. Now the one challenge without having the Mac gestures is that I'm full screen on this and I can't get out of it. So let me go over here real quick. And I just want to show you or verify that we're getting the right display settings here. So I'm going to go over to, it feels like it's 60 hertz, but let's just double check. Yep, we're running at 60 hertz. So I can see that 60 hertz. So we are good there. And I can't go higher than that, but that's all this display supports anyhow. Yeah, you know, here's the thing with this stuff, is that my background is like people either love it or hate it. And my style is old school. I can't get around that. I'm an old guy. And, you know, I think there's this, if you go and look at the tech space, and again, I've mentioned this before, I don't mean to be critical of other tech creators because everyone's got their own style, but I think there's a degree of, like every tech channel, especially in the mid-tier, they all look the same. They have the same lighting. They all, I mean, granted, the people are different, but there's nothing different about that. And, you know, I think this look is jarring for people, especially younger people. But that's not a bulk of my audience. A bulk of my audience are older. So that's kind of why I leave it this way. And I'm making a living. So if you connect a Thunderbolt dock, you should see a warning on Windows about connecting a Thunderbolt device. USB docks won't do that, but the Thunderbolt stuff does through the Thunderbolt driver. So that's that. And by the way, this is all real stuff back here. So this is not some like painting. I've got, this stuff is balanced. It's hanging up there. Every once in a while I switch things out or get something new. So I think my newest addition is the Game Boy box. I bought that at an estate sale. I sold off most of the other stuff from that, but I really wanted that box, and I got it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just verify the network is properly connected. But it's funny, some people say that I would be a bigger channel if I had a different style. But I don't know what style it would you know what I mean? Like, is that the reason why? I think the reason really is that this is a crowded space, you know, as far as tech reviews go. And so it's hard to break through in a saturated market like that. And I review a lot of different stuff, so it's hard. I mean, I really focus on, you know, how can I make this sustainable? And that's kind of what I'm going for here, is sustainability from a financial standpoint, which actually is why most of my viewers are not watching the channel. Like most of them are not subscribed. All right, so check it out. I'm going to go and show you the connection here. So we are at 2.5 gigabits. And what I'm going to do is run a little speed test on this thing and see how we do. So we are connected at 2.5 gigabits on the network. And let's see what we get. NC Strev says, yeah, no, I think it worked. And honestly, I can't change it because this is as good as I'm going to get, because I am not a very talented designer. I have no artistic ability whatsoever, nor the patience to be artistic. So that's it. And I think what you will see from me is I'm going to change up the lighting a little bit. I'm not going to add any colors or anything, but there are some things that I want to fix and make look better. I might get new cameras, which might improve some things. So I've locked the focus on this camera, so it looks a little better now. When I switched to 4K, a lot of little things that I missed suddenly became very evident. So that was that. And I want to thank 2 new followers, Mr. Carl, who joined us on Amazon, and Ventom. All right. So let me get, yeah, and actually this is one of those things where if I never change, look, I mean, changing a set is something that I think has some value. If my audience was locked in to 100% subscribers, then people would get sick of it after a while. Except those of you who don't get sick of me, which is great. But all right, so let's take a look now. We're going to run a speed test here. And we are connected right now to the 2.5 gigabit Ethernet on this thing. And I'll do a whatchamacallit test in a few minutes. Now, I've seen this happen before as well. So I don't know what's going on with these 2.5 gigabit docks. This is the second one that I've seen do this. And I don't know if this is a setting on... Yeah, because I do well on the upstream. It's the downstream that gets fouled up. But even here, it's only a gigabit and a half. And I don't know what the cause is, because when I use another adapter, everything's fine. Like if I plug in my 2.5 gig USB adapter, we won't see this. But let's do another test here. I did notice a while ago that my equipment was a little wacky. I had to reboot my Unify stuff. But this is something I've seen out of another dock recently with the same controller. So I'm wondering what's going on there. Yeah, exactly, this is what I shoot for, is that. Here I am, I call this the midlife crisis studio, right? Here I am with around all of my stuff from when I was a kid, which is literally everything behind me. All of this stuff, I don't think, the only thing that well, I mean, a couple of little things here and there are more modern, but for the most part, everything back there is mine. Except that, so that Centipede cartridge over there, I think I told you all about this. This was, I borrowed that from a friend. It's a ColecoVision game. I borrowed it from a friend back in the 80s. He probably has one of my games. I think we swapped them. And I never returned it to him, nor did he return my game. But it's funny, he's a writer. He used to write for the Daily Show. So that's his cartridge back there. I texted him. I said, hey, you want your cartridge back? He goes, oh, next time I'm in town. So, and Matt K wants to know, is it risky to try? I think that part of it is that I think people who follow me like this, does it turn off people? Sometimes, it's funny, I think it's very much generational. And I think it's the style. I do hard cuts. I produce the channel the way I used to watch content when I was a kid. And so I think that's off-putting, is what I think, for younger crowds who are expecting a different look and a different style of presentation. But no need to block people. I'm okay taking criticism. I don't think he's being trollish. I think he doesn't like it, and that's cool. I'm not opposed to people stating their opinions. But yeah, no, I think it's important. The disclosure is important. I think if you change the look, maybe, you know what I mean? Like people might think something's changing. But no, there's things that I would like to do better. Typically, though, the focus is on the products, right? So that's kind of where we settle in on. All right, so what I'm going to do now is what's called an iPerf test. And this is a command line thing. So I'm going to go into my applications folder here. And we're going to just do a quick iPerf. So I'm going to go iPerf 3 minus C. And I'm not going to do any special settings to start, just to see what we get. And I'm going to zoom this in here. Oops. I just screwed up. Hang on a second. Ah! Get out of here. Let's see. Control C. All right. When in doubt, Control C. Yikes. I just did something totally screwed up here. Okay, so let's try this again. iPerf 3C 192.168.269. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in on this thing so you can see it. Oh, I see what I did. I accidentally pasted, which is what happened there. Oh, all right. So if I hit that middle mouse button, that pastes. That's what's going on. So I'll just zoom the screen in on the camera and just see how we do here. All right, so let's just run this and see what we get. All right, so this is working fine. So I've got some kind of weird routing issue. So here, I'll zoom in here so you can get a feel for that. So this is what you're going to look for right here. And what I'm actually going to do is record some B-roll, so I have this for my regular full review. So let me go make a new folder. And we're going to call this OWC doc. Yeah, so for whatever reason, the controllers on these docks don't like my Unify stuff. And Unify is really curmudgeon-y when it comes to 2.5 gigabit connections. It really doesn't like them. And some of my stuff works fine, other stuff doesn't. All right, so let's record this. And so this is us sending data to the Mac on the other side of the room. And that's about what I would expect. And now I think if I do a -R, that reverses the connection. So let's do that real quick. And this is going from, oh, see, same thing. Yeah. So it's downloading, but the upstream is a little slower. I'll try it on a PC later, too, and see if that might impact it differently. But I saw this recently on another doc that I was looking at. And let's take a few more questions here. James Randolph is here. Hello there. Good to see you. And Matt K says, yeah, I think it's good to be factual. I really try to get my facts straight because I know people are making purchasing decisions based on these things, and it's important, I think, to get those things right. And I'll zoom in on the dock here so you can see what it looks like. And we're going to test that SD card reader out in a second, too. So we'll see how that does. Commodore fan. Yeah, you know what's funny? Desktop computers generally don't have Thunderbolt, as I found. And I think it's because they have expansion slots. What's nice about Thunderbolt in general is that it's kind of a PCI Express port on a cable. So you can get these enclosures that just have a PCI Express slot on them. You can put any card you want in there and just hook them up to a laptop. It's really, really a neat concept. Eric is one. Oh, yes, it's funny you should mention this, Eric. Congratulations on getting your ticket punched. So I am, by the way, he's referring to ham radio stuff. So as we speak, at this moment, I am in the process of getting prepared for my antennas to finally get permanently installed. I got somebody coming over here on Thursday. So what we're doing is we're, first of all, putting a TV antenna up on the roof. So we're going to have some stuff around that. And while he's up there, we're going to mount my VHF antenna. We're going to drill a proper hole in the wall over there. And then I'll have a way to bring my cables in and out for some of the other stuff. And I've been doing a lot over the last couple of days. In fact, right this moment, I've been experimenting with, and I'll show it to you real quick here. Oops, wrong thing. I've been experimenting with what they call slow scan TV images. And so I am monitoring, so I got this antenna. This antenna that I got is awesome. And it's the Chameleon 3, I think it is. It's for high frequency stuff. And right now, if you are looking to get a ham radio license, the 10-meter band, which is the band that you're allowed to operate on, is the most active it's been in, I think, a decade because of the sunspot cycle. So I'm talking to people all over the world without satellites, without internet. It's just working wonderfully. And what I'm doing right now, let me give you my other view here. I've been messing around with something called, this is called slow scan TV. And so what I'm monitoring right now is on the 10-meter band. Now I can't operate, let me show you here. I can't operate at the frequency that these images come in on, so I can't send images yet because my license doesn't allow me to do that. I have a technician license and I'm working on getting my general. But what it's doing right now with my SDR is monitoring 28.680. And what we're waiting for are images to be transmitted over the air from all different parts of the world. And so I don't know what it's picked up recently here. So, but yeah, so you can see, ham operators actually talk on the radio to each other. So let me show you like a transaction here. So let's see. Yeah, so usually when you're on the air, you call CQ to find, try to reach somebody. And I'm always looking for people that are calling CQ. In fact, I've been able to reach people in South America. Just this week, I talked to somebody in South America, somebody in Texas. I talked to somebody in Moscow, believe it or not. And not over the phone, just over the radio. And so what you do is you call CQ with your call sign, but slow scan TV, you call CQ with an image. And so these people send images back and forth. So what happened here is that he called CQ, and then this guy picked it up. I gotcha. And so he's responding back with his call sign, and people were actually communicating through images. And these images come down over the air, not internet, just all over the air. Isn't that cool? So I've just been leaving it on during the day just to see what it picks up. And what's cool is that when you get one of these long antennas, you can pick up all sorts of stuff with one of these SDR adapters. So you could pick up shortwave radio from all over the world. You can download all these digital things that are transiting. It's just really a fun hobby. And when you get your license, you can start participating and talking to people and sending stuff around. So yeah, so I've been doing a lot with it. So once I get all these antennas hooked up, I'm going to do a video all about operating on the 10 meter band. And I've done some cool stuff with it. Like I did weak signal email and text messaging. So play this scenario out. Let's say you have a huge storm, you got no power, but you got a battery. You can send a weak signal very long distances. And there are listening stations, again, all volunteers, listening stations set up. And the software that I'm running, I'll demonstrate how this works. And you can send a certain little bit of messaging, and when it's picked up by any one of these listening stations, it will take that data and send it to another thing, and then it will end up being an email or a text message that can go to anybody. It's really cool. And I'll have to show it to you to really give you the full idea as to how this works, but it's remarkably cool how this works. And so there's all these neat things that you can do. And it's nerdy, but you know what's fun about this radio stuff is that there's no one way to do it. And that's what I've been liking about it. Because right now, like, everybody just wants a phone. And when you have a phone, it does everything you could possibly imagine. Amateur radio, there is no right way to do anything. There's a wrong way and a lot of wrong ways, but there's no single right way. And that's what I kind of like about it. It's pretty fun. So yeah, so we'll test out the card reader next year, and then I got to run. See, that's it. Either you love it or you hate my approach. That's it. I mean, there's plenty of people that are new school, so I'm old school. That's how it works. But yes, Eric, to answer your question, we got a lot more coming on that. And Caps likes the retro. I like the retro too. And I love retro too. It's a good little thing there. Commodore is 42 and thinks that the younger generations are too fickle and they have too short of an attention span. Yeah, although that's what they said about us too, right? Actually, they called us a bunch of slackers in Generation X. We were the slackers. We still are. Look at me. I sit in my basement making YouTube videos all day long and drinking coffee. And you know what's funny? I do move things around occasionally. And if I ask somebody if they notice, they do. But I should start doing that just to kind of mess with people. I will do that more often. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I guess if people are being trollish, they should be moderated. I don't disagree with that. Yeah, I don't want to moderate somebody out just for making a suggestion. But I just know he comes on every time and asks the same thing. But it's okay. He doesn't like it, but he's still here. He's still watching. He's engaging. So I'm okay with it. But all right. Hey, there you go. Got your zip drive going. Make sure you got those disks backed up because they are known to fail. So David says, on the MacBook, it is possible to run 2 displays with these boxes if you can run them at a lower resolution. Are you sure about that? Like, oh, that low. Okay. Yeah, because I know on the MacBook Air, I think they just limit the display output in general. But I'll try it out and see if I can get more going there. Yeah, it's fun. Once you get into the ham thing, you know what's fun about it is it's kind of like, there's so much. And once you start narrowing it down into, okay, I want to try this today. I want to transmit this or receive that, and then it starts to make a lot of sense. But I think those SDR dongles are a really good way to get started. And throw a wire antenna outside and you're good to go. And as James says, anybody can listen. That's right. And I'm listening on bands that I can't operate on yet, but I will hopefully be able to soon. And so there are multiple correct ways. Yes, there's multiple correct ways. And even the wrong ways can be correct. So right now my setup is partially wrong. And the reason why my setup is wrong is I don't have everything grounded properly just yet. And it's not electrical grounding, it's RF grounding. It's two different things. So I've got to get, part of the project of getting the holes drilled in the wall is we have antenna wires coming in and we have grounding wire going out. And I've got a big stake that I'm going to mash into the ground. And that'll hopefully reduce some of the noise. I don't have a lot of noise already, but it's going to make it better. So, and there you go, Robert. That's it. It's all about the content. I agree. I agree. All right, so let's test out this, this card reader now. So what I've got for a card, I showed you this a minute ago. This is a UHS-2 SD card. And what this will do is it will run at a faster rate of speed than a UHS-1 card will. And this dock has a UHS-2 reader. So I'm going to stick this in here. And it does stick out, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is just make sure there's nothing important on this. I probably won't format it, but let me go and check out what's on the card here. Oh, that's odd. I did not pick it up. We'll give it a second here. Maybe I've got it formatted with some weird thing. Oh, it doesn't see it. Oh, you know, I didn't put it in all the way. That'll do it. All right, TUF32. This is exFAT formatted, and I've got 30-something gigs free on it. Okay, so let's do a Blackmagic disk speed test. All right, so now, I hate shooting the screen, but what are you going to do? All right, so we're going to pull this up here. And I'm just going to minimize some of this stuff so we can have a clean background. And I'm going to get rid of my jump desktop here because that is consuming some network bandwidth. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and select my target drive, which is going to be the TUF32 card here. So we've got that selected. And we'll hit. So this is an SD card. And as you can see, we're pushing about 200 megabytes per second on writes to an SD card. And that's what the UHS-2 format gets you, is faster write speeds and read speeds. So that's not bad. And reads about the same. That's about what I would expect out of this card. And that's because it's a UHS-2 card. So it's got more throughput. Generally, like a regular SD card is in the 100 megabyte per second range. And I found none of these cards are accurate about their read and write speeds. They're all full of it. So, and I'll show you, like this one, let me pop it out. This is a Sony card. And they say it's 300 megabytes per second, but that is, it's close. I didn't quite get the read speed. I think it might do a little better on a direct attached thing, but still, I mean, that's pretty good performance. But yeah, this is a V90 card. So V90 means that it can, at a minimum, it can support 90 megabytes per second. And then they are saying the card can go up to 300. And you know it's a UHS-2 card because it has an extra set of pins, and it also says it on, there's a little 2 on there. And what's nice about these cards, though, is that they're backwards compatible. So if your camera, like all my cameras are UHS-1 cameras, but if you put this card in a UHS-1 camera, it works. And then when you take it out, you can transfer things faster from it with a UHS-2 reader. So even if your writing implement doesn't support the faster speed, the card will benefit you in the sense that you can pull the stuff off of it faster, provided you have a reader that can support it. But it looks like the reader here is good. What was the other thing I wanted to test on this? There was one other thing I wanted to look at. We did the networking. I got to play around with the networking a little bit more. And I'm running short on time here, too. What was the other thing I was going to try on this dock? I can't remember. So we did that. We got the network tested. I might try to... Yeah, I gotta play around with that networking a little bit more. I do have another... Oh, I know what I was going to try. I was going to try the Steam Deck. Okay, so let's get the Mac disconnected here. So we're going to unplug the Mac. And so now the Mac is free agent again. Now the Steam Deck, that's what I wanted to try. The Steam Deck is a USB-C device. It is not Thunderbolt. It is not USB 4. So this will be a good test of whether or not it'll work with a USB device. So let's try that out real quick. So we've got our keyboard attached to it. Let me zoom the camera out a little bit here and give you a better view of what we're looking at. So we'll zoom out here. And what we're going to do next here is attach our Steam Deck and see if it works. So I'll power my Steam Deck on here. Hopefully it's got battery. All right, so here's the Steam Deck. And now I'm going to take the cable. And remember, we were just using a Thunderbolt computer, a Mac. So now we're going to attach a Steam Deck, which is USB-C and not Thunderbolt, even though it's got a USB-C connector on it. All right, so we'll plug that in. And it looks like the display has been updated. Yeah, there you go. Now we've got that. The mouse is working. And what I want to check here is whether or not the network has been picked up properly. So let's go over to, do they call network internet? Is that what they call it? Yep, we were on the wired connection. So that worked. Perfect. So the Ethernet is working. Yeah, so it's looking like it's working. The display is outputting. What are we at here? I don't know what resolution we are at. I wonder if the monitor will tell us. Let's see. Doesn't tell us there. I think this monitor might have it somewhere. It does not tell me what it is running at. I have no idea. But maybe I'll turn automatic off. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so we are at 4K 60. So it will do one display at this resolution. Although they said on the thing, oh, it looks like it's like frozen here. Let's see. It said on the thing that it doesn't support 60 hertz on a USB-C connection, although it's saying here that it is. So I don't know. Looks like the targets here are not functioning correctly, but all right, so let's do like a 1.5 gig update. We'll just do this real quick and see what we get. But yeah, it looks like the Ethernet is working, the USB is working, the power is working because it's charging. So it's pretty good. All right, what else we got here? And Andre's waiting for more ham rate. Yeah, we'll get there. I wanted to get like everything hooked up so I have something good to talk about. But yeah, I'm going to do my next one primarily, actually all on the 10 meter stuff. Maybe I'll do two. Maybe I'll do one about my new setup and all that good stuff. Oh, good. Yeah, I appreciate any help you can provide on that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Hello from York, Pennsylvania. Just making sure I don't miss anything. And I'll have to check this out. I will try this, David, because I do have another monitor. I just don't have room on my desk here, but I will try to hook it up to my desktop and see what we can get done there. Thank you, Ole. I'm going to keep going. And you got $25 used Melinex cards, 2.5 gigabits per second on the cheap. I like on the cheap. And that's another important thing. It's always good to keep your Plex server up to date, as is everything that you have connected to the network. What I do actually is I manually install, I use a WD still for my Plex server, and I manually install it. CF542 is here. So could you use the Steam Deck as a console? You could. The problem, though, and you'll see this, is that the Steam Deck, although it's powerful enough to drive a 720p display, oops, by the way, the touch display works still. While it's powerful enough to drive a 720p display, which is what it has, it's not powerful enough to run a 4K image. And this is running at 60 right now, but you're right. It's not designed to handle this higher resolution. So yeah, so what it's doing is it's running this game at like 720p because that's the max it can handle. But as you can see here, it's working through the dock. So the dock will work with Thunderbolt, and it will work with USB-C devices like this one. And we'll take a look and see what we get on specifications here. Let's take a look and see if I can get the performance thing to pop up. So I've got the frame rate limit right now at 60. I gotta tell you, they've really done a great job with this thing. I want to pull the stats up here. I think there's a way to get the stats up on, yeah, here we go, performance overlay level. All right, so let's go to, oh, they changed it. It looks different than it did before. Okay, it might be hard to see. Yeah, so I think this is running at a 720p resolution and upscaling because it's feeling pretty good. So yeah, you could run this as a, you could run this as a console, which was the question. But you're not going to get the kind of resolution, graphical fidelity that you would get out of a Xbox, for example. And even the Switch, to a degree, the games will run at 1080p pretty well. But yeah, it seems to be working pretty good. I love this game, by the way, if you haven't already known that. It's just so cool. Look how cool it looks. I'm doing their mission right now, so if you finish the mission, you get a really cool ship. But it's working great. We're plugged in. We're getting power out of the dock. It's nighttime on this planet right now, but we're getting power out of the dock. We're getting networking out of the dock. That's right. Old school means experience. That's what Carl said, and I agree. I agree with that. And you're still searching for a USB-C Thunderbolt hub. You might find one here. I like the Kensington ones also. Kensington is a sponsor on the channel, but they've got a lot of good selection of different types of docks and different ports to choose from and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think what Valve has done with the Steam Deck is going to benefit far more than the Steam Deck. And we saw that with the review I did of the Framework Chromebook the other day. Right? Because you're able now to run Steam games on a Chromebook. And I think what I'm going to do actually is record a little B-roll here of my consoleized Steam Deck running. But the game seems to be working pretty good here. This is a slow ship, so this ship is not very agile. What is that? It's like some kind of base here. I didn't even see that earlier. I'll plop her down. It didn't land on the landing pad. Was somebody build a base here? This is part of the in-game thing. But there you go. Works good. All right. Yeah, so that works. Now let's see what happens when I pull the plug on it. So we're going to pull it off. Let's see if it does the Nintendo switcheroo here. So we'll pop the cable out. Yep, there it goes. Right back to... And what's interesting is that the smaller display looks a lot better, right? And it looks better because it has a higher pixel density, so you don't notice that it's really only running at 720p. That's kind of the magic of the Steam Deck, is that. But yeah, it's a pretty good solution. All right, there we go. Yeah, so I just got to mess around with the networking a little bit more, just to figure out what's going on with that. But I don't think it's limited to just this. Let me try it on my, I've got my 2.5 gig adapter in the bin here. Just for the heck of it. I'm just going to try this thing out and see if this might make a difference. Roger P says, we can't wait for Steam Deck 2. They commented recently on that prospect, that it might be a while. It's really, I think, down to AMD and what they can do with these processors. You know, can they get them to that level of performance or not? All right, so let's plug this in here and see. So I've got this little adapter here. This is a 2.5 gigabit. And the reason why I'm doing this is that we didn't see the kind of performance that I was expecting out of it as far as the 2.5 gigabit is concerned. So what I'm going to do now is see if it's me or them. And again, I found some peculiar behaviors of the Unify stuff that I use. All right, so it did not pick this up yet here. Let's try this again. I don't think I've used this adapter on this Mac yet. Let's see. There it goes. Now it's connecting. Just gonna wait for it to show up on my list of networks. That's the Wi-Fi. There we go. Okay, so we're connected. So now this is my primary network device here, and I'm just going to run a quick... All right, so we're getting what we got before going that way. And now I'm going to reverse the connection. Yeah, this one is getting a bit... So here's what's interesting. Let me show you. Let me zoom on in here. So with this adapter, this pluggable adapter here, all right, so let's do the first test. So here, this is from this computer to the other side of the room, right, 2.3-ish, right? And then if I go the other way, same, right? That's what it should be. So we know it's not my Unify equipment now. And then if I go and run the speed test app, just to test the internet side, wrong app. All right, so let's try this out and see what we get here. So I think the controller on this might be a little hampered. So here is what we're getting. Again, same connection on my switch. Now I'm getting what I'm supposed to get with the adapter. That's what it should be. So I was going to get the... That's what it should be. Okay, so now, why don't we go back to the dock? And it could be that it's just the USB bus that it is sharing. So why don't we disconnect this? And again, if you're curious, this is the pluggable. Pluggable makes docks also, but this is their little 2.5 gigabit USB network adapter. Really handy little tool. So now we're going to plug the Ethernet back into the dock here. All right, same port on the switch. And we'll run this in. Oops. All right, so now we have connected that way. Now it could be, let me disconnect the display. Let's rule out any other competing data streams here. So we got plugged in there. I'm just going to go back and check my network settings and make sure that we've got, okay, so we're connected. And it's a Realtek adapter, just like the other one is. Details, hardware, we're at 2.5 gigabits. Okay, so now, let us go back to our terminal display here. And I'm going to run that test again. So let's see how we do. Again, this is with the display disconnected. All right, so that's good. That's what it should be. Roger P. wants to know, am I ready for Counter-Strike Global Offensive 2? Sure. I haven't really played the first one all that much because I'm not very good at it. Or I might be good, but the people that play it are better than I am. Okay, so here's the other direction. Yeah, same thing. See that? I'm going to have to ask them about this because I saw this on another dock also, not just theirs. So it could just be the controller. I don't know. Let's try the speedtest.net out. So it's faster than, yeah, you see that? And again, this is the exact same connection on my switch. So my upload is fine. Let's try it again. See that? So it's kind of like, and so this is the same process. We're getting, pushing it out is fine, which is what that iPerf test was doing. So if I go from here to the Mac on the other side of the room, full speed, that's what we should get. But if I reverse the connection, that's what we get. So it's better than one, but it's not as good as it could be. So this is the same issue that we're seeing. It's like a downstream issue. I'll have to try it on the PC. Do I have a PC? Do I have a PC nearby? I do have a PC over here. Let's try this PC real quick. How much time do I have? I have 10 minutes. All right, let's see what we can get done in 10 minutes here. And it's funny, I just have these things around. They appear. All right, so let's disconnect the dock here. Now this PC is a Thunderbolt equipped PC. Win32 has been using Windows 10. I like Windows 10. I am using Windows 10 on my production computer exclusively. And I'm not going to upgrade it to 11 because 10 works. A lot of my other machines run 11 just because that's what they came with or whatever. So, so Frank is here. I need to double check that. Do me a favor, email me at Lon@Lon.TV, and that way you'll know I'll see it. So send me an email on that. So Summit 2D games are able to run 4K even. Yeah, I would say there's probably some 2D games that can do that. So I leave everything automatic unless I see issues. And Dead Cells is a good example of a game that would work pretty good. But I think the Steam Deck is adjusting the settings based on what it thinks is the best outcome for the game based on the hardware. So I think that's what it's doing there. Yeah, that's for sure. I can't even, it's funny at night, I can't even sit down because I'm constantly, and it's not just the kids, it's the dog. It's like there's always somebody that needs something, right? And to a large extent, the kids are too small to reach anything. So, you know, it's not like the fact that I'm doing things for them that they should do themselves. It's like they can't reach. So I get it. All right, let me go download iPerf on here real quick, and let's see if this does any better. iPerf for Windows. Yeah, I'll throw this in my downloads folder here. And my wife is going to pick the kids up, which means I got to get on my call in a minute. All right, looks like I have iPerf on here already. So now I'm just checking my Windows PC here. What I need to do is make sure that I have the networking in the right order here. And it's got me on Ethernet. Okay. All right, so now I'll show you what I'm looking at here in a second. All right, so I've got iPerf on here. So let's go and look at, this screen is really dim for some reason. All right, let's go give you another. I'm purposely shooting screens here because I don't want to foul up anything else. All right. I think this might be the case. I'm guessing that is probably the limiting factor. But let's see what happens here. Okay, so now I've got this going here. And why can't I get, oh, there it goes. Now it's brighter. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go iPerf 3 minus C 192.168.2.69, dude. All right. Yeah, so we're getting the right speed here. Again, this is on Windows. And CF says, yeah, I would not consider this a portable dock. Not by any stretch. Unless you're looking for like a full service dock that you're taking to different offices or whatever. All right, so there it's working as it should. Now if I go and reverse the order, yeah, same thing. And this is so this is the downstream. So the upstream is fine. It's the downstream that is problematic. Dolphin wants to know, how do you know I don't have one? I've been driving a Tesla for almost 8 years now. I love my Tesla. Can I try another adapter? Oh, that's a good idea. Let's try that. All right, so let's try this now. So we're going to take this, and I got to go in a minute. So I got a call in 8 minutes. So why don't we plug this in? So now we're going to try the adapter plugged in to the front of the dock here. This is a 10 gigabit port. That's a really good idea. So we're going to plug it in here. All right, so now we're going to use the adapter through the dock and see what we get. So it's got to wait for it to detect the Ethernet here. Okay, we're back up. Okay, so now that's a great idea. So let's see if that does it. So again, now we're not using the built-in one, we're using the one we attached. So we're getting the 2 point something here. Perfect, right? Don't need to wait for that to finish. And now we'll reverse it. Ah, same problem. So it must be the bus. All right, so let's troubleshoot one last thing. So now we know there's a commonality to the direction of the data, perhaps, right? So let me disconnect the dock. And let's plug in the network adapter directly. So now we're plugged directly into the PC. All right, so this is, yeah, we're getting, I mean, this is about, no, well, it's starting to, so this is the downstream. This is plugged in directly. So a little less actually than we were getting before. Let's try the other direction though. Ah, Look at that. So plugged in directly, it's fine. It's the dock. It's a little worse for wear on the downstream here, but it actually, yeah. Oh, now it just dropped out. Oh, so much for that. We really ticked it off. There's your Windows 11. There's your Windows 11. All right, well, I'll keep playing with this, but I think we're narrowing it down. So the Tesla does drive me on occasion, but it's kind of like having a teenager driving around. It reminds me a lot of when I first started driving. It's got like a lack of confidence. So that's it. Hey, Roger's here from France. Unfortunately, I got to run in a minute here because I got to get on a call. But I think there's some data. Yeah, I think there's definitely some data overhead in there. And I saw this on another dock with one of these 2.5 gig ports. And I think a lot of these come out of the same place. So I'm going to write to them and figure out what that's all about. But it's interesting. All right, so I have to run because I got to get on this call in 5 minutes. So I think I got a bulk of what I need to get done here. I do have to send them a question about the network performance. So I'm going to do that and go from there. Oh, did I ever do a video about the Tesla? Yes. If you go on my YouTube channel, you'll see a couple of Tesla videos. Some of them are older and not all that relevant anymore. But the one I did most recently is, yeah, so look for the Tesla Autopilot report. And this was about all the fear and uncertainty and doubt that they had raised about it. And it didn't do very well on my channel. So that's why I don't do much about Tesla, because it just doesn't do well with the audience. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I got a jet, but I am going to be back before you know it. And thank you for, yeah, so far, David Bound, I have not seen any snow. It is just raining down here, although it's supposed to start snowing around 5. And I think you are right on the mix, right? You're like right on the line there. So, and I'll say goodbye to some folks. And James remembers, yeah, my time with that is coming in 6 years, and I'm going to be old. I don't know if my heart's going to be able to take it. We'll see. But I actually think that the full self-driving is really good. I mean, I've never seen it do something stupid. It defaults to not doing anything. So if a lot of times it'll just like hesitate so long that you're just like, come on already, you know. So I do use it on occasion. Around here, it has trouble because even on like a 3-way stop, the visibility is very poor. So for example, at the end of my street, there's a hill that ends with a stop sign. It's really dangerous, actually, because I've seen people fly through there all the time. And it's just a matter, I'm just so nervous that one day my number is going to be up on that. Because they don't see the stop sign until you get over this hump and then you're there. So the car, it wants the confidence to know that it can see if there's anybody coming, and it just can't. So it keeps it inches out into the middle of the road. It just kind of goes. So when I do it, I stop, I look, and I go. The car stops, and it just keeps creeping because it can't see to the right. And it's legit. So what I usually do there is give it a little bit of gas, and that gets it through. But yeah, I mean, I bought the car with so long story, and I got to go. But long story, when I bought the car, they were getting rid of the demo units. So it was a great deal because I had an older one. They took that on trade. They gave me every dollar I asked for it. They gave me, I think they took like 15 or 20 grand off the sticker, and I got free gas for life. I have free supercharging for life. So my car has unlimited gas. I don't have a supercharger nearby, otherwise I would be there all the time. There's one about 15 or 20 minutes up the road. But anytime I'm passing one and I have a few minutes, I plug in because I have free supercharging for life in that car. So I am never getting rid of that car unless they make a similar offer in the future. So, That is it. But the supercharging network is, or give it a little bit of electrons actually. But the supercharging network is pretty extensive now, so it works good. And for me, it's free, so it's that's it. And you're right, James. After those kids are in the car with me, I'll be a lot older afterwards. I didn't have gray hair until I had children, but they're good kids, so I'm very lucky. All right, got to go. Got to get on the call. I will catch you all on the next stream. I'll probably be back tomorrow. I got another project. So we're going to be setting up a production computer for a local elementary school running vMix. It's going to be fun. So come back tomorrow. And until then, arrivederci.